everyone. Welcome to the Holistic Birth Podcast, where we put the power in families' hands to have the safe, satisfying journey they deserve. My name is Allison.
And I'm Brigitte. We are two doulas who love bringing information along with inspiration to help you feel confident and powerful in your choices throughout the birthing year.
We cover all topics around pregnancy, birth, and beyond. We're so glad you're here.
Let's dive into this week's episode. Welcome back to the Holistic Birth Podcast. This is episode 17, and today we're going to be talking about delayed cord clamping versus optimal cord closure.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, delayed cord clamping is the practice of allowing the umbilical cord to continue to deliver the rest of the blood to baby that's stored within the placenta. With delayed cord clamping, that's the terminology you might find with a lot of providers or birth settings. The standard for amount of time, that's always the question is, well, how long do we delay clamping? We're just going to say several times it's very beneficial to keep that cord attached and flowing. There's no rush typically, which we'll get into the scenarios and everything, but ACOG recommends at least 30 to 60 seconds minimum. The World Health Organization recommends the cord shouldn't be clamped earlier than 1 minute, so at least a minute. And then the American College of Nurse Midwives says 5 minutes after birth in full-term infants, which is 37 weeks. But really, there's a lot of benefits. And so that's kind of the overview of delayed cord clamping, the time. We'll talk about the benefits, but maybe if you want to share, Brigitte, how is that different from optimal cord closure, that term?
Yeah, so optimal cord closure is basically waiting until the cord is white. So no pulsing, you won't see any, blood flow going to the baby. And so waiting till it's completely white, and you can actually birth the placenta afterwards, leave that attached even, because sometimes, it just all depends. There's no set time that it's done when it's done. So waiting till that cord is white is just making sure that your baby is getting all the blood and stem cells, all that good stuff that they really need to prevent anemia and stuff like that. So we'll get more into detail on that. It does not increase the risk of postpartum hemorrhage, and the benefits are, again, incredible.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Because truthfully, this blood that we're clamping, sometimes too early, is baby's blood.
Yes.
It's baby and placenta blood.
Give it to them.
Yes, it is theirs. So the benefits of optimal cord closure, of delaying that clamping and cutting, waiting for white, ideally, is that we see increased hemoglobin levels at birth. The iron stores are increased when in baby, which obviously can also help long term, 6 months down the road even.
Yeah.
It helps baby with both physical and emotional development and growth. It is packed with stem cells, and that helps with baby's immune system and their growth as well. And it also can still be done with a cesarean birth. I even had a client actually who, I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast already, but she wanted the placenta to be birthed with baby, and then they just waited with baby over on the OR table. Yeah. Waited for the placenta. Placenta was birthed, and then they both were brought over to the warmer and continued delay, full, really good delayed cord clamping, several minutes. The cord was white. Dad did the final cut. It was good. So
that was perfect. Yeah.
Can be done.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are better outcomes for even premature babies too. It improves that transition circulation. It decreases a need for a blood transfusion. It's pretty incredible. And even those extra few minutes can really help with the neurodevelopment for your child several years later. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, so that's kind of the overview of the benefits of it. Obviously, it sounds fantastic, and most of the time, the majority of the time, it is. And it's great. A lot of things can work around it. There's also something called a Lotus Birth, which we sort of hinted at already. Do you want to share about that, Brigitte?
Yeah. So like I said before, that's typically when the placenta is birthed, and again, the cord is still attached. And basically you just wait for the cord to fall off on its own. So you leave it attached to the placenta for, I think it takes about 3 days or so, maybe less. But yeah, it just dries up and detaches on its own.
Yeah.
So yeah, Lotus births are pretty cool and they're absolutely fine to do. So yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
If you did want to do something with your placenta, like placenta encapsulation, usually it's like contraindicated because of the
that makes sense.
storage of the placenta.
Yeah.
But if you're not planning on doing anything with your placenta where you're consuming it, then Lotus birth is pretty cool. Just waiting for that to disconnect really on its own. I've seen people where they do like a variation where it's important to them that baby and the placenta are existing outside of the womb together for X amount of time, and then maybe then do some sort of clamping, burning, whatever. Maybe we should talk about that. Cord burning. What is that, Brigitte?
Yeah, it's another option. So again, waiting until the cord is white and again the placenta is still attached to the baby and the cord. There's definitely like different methods of doing it. So basically you and your partner or another family member, if it's another child, you can burn the cord with a candle. A lot of people like to use like beeswax candles because they're obviously more natural. But you can buy like these really cool little boxes that have like little cut out grooves in each, side of them. And you just hold the candle that way, it protects you from, getting burnt or wax on you. And you just put the cord, across the box and then put the 2 candles. If you're watching the video, I'm kind of showing between the 2 candles like across, and obviously the flame over the umbilical cord, and you just wait there until it burns. Of course, this doesn't hurt the baby or anything like that. And keep it a pretty safe distance that way. There's no like heat, causing problems. And it takes about like 10-15 minutes for it to burn. So some people are kind of surprised that it takes so long, but it's just like a really nice way of like honoring the placenta and just a nice slow way and gentle way of detaching the baby from the placenta. So it's just a very symbolic, nice thing to do because the placenta is where the baby lived for, the birthing year and it supplied all those nutrients and was the baby's home for a while. So it's just a really nice way to kind of honor that. So
placenta is really like an underrated organ.
It really
I would
is.
Say.
It's so cool. Yeah.
It's so cool, but a lot of it, there is, you don't have to, eat it raw. Like there are other ways to honor it and say like, that was pretty amazing. Everything that it did.
Yeah.
I've had people that like have frozen their placenta and they're not quite sure what to do about it, and then they come to me with it after and they're like, I want to do like a placenta print. Like there's a lot you can do with the placenta, which we'll talk about in a later episode, but there's really like a lot of beauty to be able to have that symbolism, that slow kind of separation.
I did have a question for you about the placenta waiting for like after it's out. How long is the period of time that it's like no longer able to be ingested? Is there
usually like 4 hours?
Oh, okay.
So it can be room temp for like up to 4 hours. And then ideally it's put on ice in the fridge. If you're not going to do anything with it consumption wise for like 4 to 5 days, then it's best to just freeze it. And then thawing it right before you're about to do something with it. But yeah, that's kind of the thing. It doesn't have to go right on ice immediately.
Right.
So you do have some time. But yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and there's the option of burying your placenta too. But and we're getting into placenta stuff now. But
the other end of the umbilical cord.
It is. Yeah.
But yeah, so in most scenarios, you certainly can wait for white, and you can do your skin to skin time as long as you want. It's really good to kind of be prepared for which scenarios might prevent it from being
I was going to ask you about that.
It might prevent it from being a priority. So obviously the benefits are fantastic and very supportive for, I guess, the reasoning why we want to really just delay that as long as possible and waiting for white. But if for some reason one of these situations might come up, you might not be able to do the Lotus birth, the burning, anything extended like that. And in theory, you might not even get to do like that 5 however many minutes of it. It might just be like 30 seconds or something. So in the scenarios that I kind of want to bring up are in the case of like hemorrhaging for whatever reason, or if there's like a placenta abruption or placenta previa, usually there needs to be a little bit more involvement and hands-on care from the staff. Sometimes you might be overwhelmed, so you actually might want to hand baby to your partner because you're trying to focus as well. So if there's anything like that where care needs to be very immediate for you and they need to kind of like get in the space type of thing. Handing baby to your partner and they can do skin to skin or whoever, that can be really helpful as like some sort of comfort, I guess. And then also if baby's needing immediate like resuscitation, that's usually the main thing that the providers who are, maybe it wasn't like really common back in the day when they did their training, usually our understanding is there's not really been a lot of like evidence for why we did clamp it so early. It just was something that became common practice. I think just to fly through that process and get on to the next thing. But we've really, all the organizations have really understood like, we do want to delay it. And I think there's different schools of thought on like how long to delay it. But, if for some reason baby is needing resuscitation or any respiratory support, usually they would recommend clamping and cutting, bringing baby to the infant warmer nearby, which is usually in the same room, where they then can have like their tools to support that resuscitation or whatever protocol they need. Sometimes there are very easy ways to bring over whatever is needed. So if baby did need a little suction or something from like a bulb syringe, okay, they can bring that to you. But if for some reason they did need something more advanced, then the benefits of clamping and cutting early to go and help baby with that obviously would outweigh the other benefits of delaying an optimal cord closure.
And sometimes the baby comes out and the cord's short. So it's, obviously the baby on your tummy is still okay. It's really, some moms really want the baby like up on their chest immediately. So, do what you feel is best for you, obviously. Of course, delaying or having the optimal cord closure is ideal. But if you're just like really struggling with that short cord, you can, of course, have it cut soon too.
Right. But, or if you're wanting to move on to nursing and you're like, okay, I'm going to get this kid up to to my chest or something, like that could be like when you decide as well. But if you can wait till your placenta is out, then that way you can then bring your baby up to you. You can do that too. So there's options there, of course. So the other thing too is if you plan on doing like any cord banking for future medical use or anything like that, if you wait obviously for optimal cord closure, there's not going to be any blood there, so as much. So just something to think about there too if you want to do that sort of thing. But most of the time, you can continue to do skin to skin, and the staff can work with you and around you, getting the baby's vital signs, offering medications, doing all those kind of things, whatever might be going on. They can still do those things, with allowing the cord to do its optimal thing. And I've seen it's. I think we're lucky that some of the hospitals around us like this, it is standard of care to like, they're not in a rush anymore. And I've been at other areas where it's still hard to, they might say it's standard, but they'll kind of clamp it and cut it after 15 seconds or 30 seconds. So it's not there have been some studies done too about the time frame. A lot of the blood does get into the baby, back to the baby, I think by like 1 to 2 minutes or something like that. But if you really allowed that delay at least till 5 minutes, the chance of, I think it's 1/3% of the blood that could be left behind then gets to continue to baby. So if you clamp it right at birth or kind of like 30, 60 seconds maximum, it's possible that 1/3 could be left behind. And I've also heard some providers, which we were just talking about before. Before we have to record, was that some providers will say, oh, like the benefits are kind of done now, or I've heard someone say, well, there's kind of this back and forth, so really there's like no point anymore. There is a give and a take between baby and the cord and the placenta with the way that the blood is circulating, but at the end of that time, that blood is going to end up with baby. So it's not harming you or baby to continue that process. And so there's obviously a lot of benefits for waiting for white, and you can definitely advocate for your baby's blood to be returned fully to them, which obviously would help with all those nice benefits. And you can definitely turn to your partner, your doula, or even your nurse if you're like, I really trust this nurse too. Like if that's a really big priority, they'll support you, and they'll do everything they can to be like, oh wait, don't clamp that yet, you know?
Yeah.
We want to wait longer.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. I've had a client specifically say, like, on their birth plan, like, I want my doula to tell me when, or say when it's okay to, you know, because like their partners, like they're in the moment and they're focusing on
same thing
their
with
baby
you.
just being born. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're doing skin to skin, it's sometimes hard to like look down.
Yeah. You
and
can't really
like,
see. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it's okay to turn to like your partner, your doula, your nurse, just be like, by the way, is the, what's the status first? That's something I try to help, train, I guess, the partners that I work with. If we're talking about like, oh, are you going to cut the cord? Usually it's a yes. For some people, they're going to wait to be, you know, it's going to be a spur of the moment thing.
Yeah.
But usually it's like if they know that delayed cord clamping or optimal cord closure is important to them, then it's kind of like this default of, okay, are you going to be ready to cut the cord, or do you want to cut the cord? The partner could immediately say, well, is it done pulsing? Let's not clamp until it's done pulsing, just as an immediate thing. And you can visually see what it looks like when right at birth, and then several minutes later. If you honestly, you could Google some pictures of like the umbilical cord and try to understand like it. You can see when it's full, the color
there's a big
and
difference,
versus like the white. And I do plan to do a social media post related to this episode that will kind of compare.
Yeah,
so you can visually
that's a great idea.
see.
Yeah.
Like, we want you to help. Like, it's good to help know like what to look for.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we'll also link like the Lotus Birth and the candle burning. So people that are interested in that, they can have resources to that. So cool. Great. All right.
I think that's it. Let us know if you have any questions.
Of course. Always. Yep.
Here for you at any time. Hope you have a good rest of your day, and we'll talk to you later.
Yeah. See you next time.
Thanks. Bye. That's it for this topic. Thanks for tuning in. Check out the show notes for any resources or links that we mentioned today. Make sure to subscribe and follow us on your preferred podcast platform, and also be sure to give us a review.
It really helps us grow and reach more people who could benefit from this info. Also, check us out on YouTube and visit our blog where we have this podcast transcribed for you.
We'd love to connect over social media too, and we're just an email away if you have any questions or if you want to request a topic to be covered.
We hope this helps your mind, body, and soul in having the supported and holistic journey you are so deserving of. Embrace the power within you.